Remember this viral motorcycle crash? I now have the confirmed outcome, and there are some important lessons to be learned from this situation, especially for newer licence holders. For those that didn't see it or don't remember it, this is the one where everybody thought that I was crazy for saying the motorcyclist is at fault. Well, I've now tracked down the motorcyclist, who is a totally sound guy, and we've been able to have a good chat about the impact. I can confirm that, as I suspected, he was found responsible for the collision. Not only was he found responsible for the collision by his insurance company, but the police also followed up with a due care prosecution as well. This saw him receive 5 penalty points, so he narrowly avoided losing a new job because one more point and it would have been a revoke of licence due to the newer licence holder rules. So as I mentioned in the original video, the Porsche, despite being on the opposite side of the road, has priority because they're already established in passing parked vehicles on their near side. The motorcyclist overtook vehicles that were waiting for the road ahead to clear and came up against the Porsche, which was established passing those parked vehicles. The Porsche was turning right into a shared driveway on their right side, which is laid out a bit like a junction. They would have been entering this area on the opposite side also, but that doesn't change liability because they were established in doing what they were doing before the motorcyclist arrived on the scene. It was ultimately just unfortunate that the SUV that came through before the Porsche, due to its size, hid the Porsche from view because that is also a much smaller vehicle than a normal car. Ultimately, the Porsche was established in what they were doing, which is why the liability goes into their favour. Now, to me, it seemed obvious that the bus and cars were waiting for something up ahead, like the road to clear. I think if the motorcyclist had filtered slowly to the front, leaving some time for observations rather than rushing through and proceeding, it could have been avoided. The details of the claim made by the Porsche driver aren't known yet because the admin side of insurance claims takes a long time to be actioned. Although on camera there's no visible damage to the Porsche, modern body panels are designed to flex and then reform their original shape for pedestrian safety. But the panel itself can be warped and require repair or replacement along with the crash structure behind the front bumper. And for the duration of the repair, they'll be in a hire car that will cost a minimum of £332 plus VAT per day because they're entitled to a like-for-like vehicle, being the non-fault party. We do know the Porsche will have suffered a heavy impact to the front of the vehicle as the bike suspension collapsed upon impact, which is why you could see the hydraulic fluid squirting up the front of the Porsche. So on to the important lessons here. The ultimate lesson is it's just not worth it to ride like this, especially in a built-up area with narrower roads. And that's because something can go wrong at any moment, and being on a motorcycle, that can have far more severe consequences than it will for a car driver. The motorcyclist can't remember why they were riding with such urgency and in a rush because they were just off to the gym. Thankfully, they've been lucky with their driving conviction because if they'd have gotten the full 6 points, they would have had their licence revoked, and they had just started a good job with a large important company, and for that role they needed to be able to drive. Had they gotten the full 6 points, they'd have had their licence revoked and lost their job. That's because if you've had a licence for 2 years or less, if you hit 6 penalty points, then it's an automatic licence revoke and you have to start again with a fresh, new provisional driving licence. So in summary, always ride carefully, show extra caution where extra caution is needed, especially in built-up areas. Even if ultimately liability was in favour of the motorcyclist, there's no point being in the right where the worst case scenario is being dead. There's no point being in the right but on your way to a funeral home. Lovely jubbly, sound as a pound.